Today we're gonna be trying to predict the final WrestleMania 40 card. Again. This is the final part of a trilogy of videos because I did this exact same video 5 months ago and 2 months ago, and I'm gonna try one more time to try and way too early predict the WrestleMania 40 card before all of the final pieces actually fall into place. And let me tell you, everything has changed since the last time that I did this video. Now we have The Rock in place, Punk is out of the picture, Charlotte Flair is hurt, so this is entirely different than what I had 2 months ago. But this is it. This is the end of the road. This is the last predictions video before the actual WrestleMania card starts to come into fruition. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I'm confident you're gonna fall in love with this channel because we upload daily wrestling content. And I do want you to come back to this video in about a month and a half so that we can cross-reference to see how far off I am. And one last thing before I show you what I've come up with, I've only used superstars that I think have logical narrative threads to help make these predictive matches. So there are people that I'm confident are gonna be on the WrestleMania card that are not on this list yet because I can't really connect any dots as of yet. All right, now let's jump into it. All right, so let's start off with the only match that's been properly confirmed for this year's WrestleMania, that being the WWE Women's Champion, Io Sky, taking on this year's Women's Royal Rumble winner, Bayley. And before I talk about this, I just want to give myself a DIY pat on my back because I predicted this one 5 months ago. This was probably the easiest one to predict, but I'm not going to let you take away that victory because sweet, sweet victory still counts in this scenario. But I'm excited for this match. In my opinion, this is a match that is logical, and logical is good. We don't need to reinvent the wheel at all times. This is a story that really told itself in a story that really began to pick up steam in the last couple of months. This Royal Rumble victory decision was also one of the best that I've ever seen. Easily the best Royal Rumble winner picks champion moment that I've seen from the women's side of things, and one of the best ones that I've seen in a very long time. Even if it was inspired by Batista, and now people are calling Bayley Batista, that's fine. Get inspiration from things that have worked in the past. I'm totally okay with that. I cannot wait for this match. I don't know that it's going to get either a main event on night one, but I do think it should get a prominent spot, both in terms of marketing and in terms of maybe an opener for one of the nights, because I feel like they've done such a good job of leading up to this moment. I'm picking Bayley to win this one, and I know this isn't like a predicting who's gonna win, but because this is the only one that's actually properly confirmed, I'm gonna toss that prediction out there. Bayley's bringing home the gold. Plus, like, dude, she just deserves it. Come on, can we all agree, even if you don't like Bayley, that she has worked her ass off for the better part of a decade to get to this moment? I feel like it's time to really give her her flowers and really treat her like one of those 4 horsewomen. The next matchup was a matchup that I was certain that we were going to have, a matchup that I predicted in the last video, that being the Intercontinental Champion Gunther, and my original pick here was Brock Lesnar. We know now that Brock Lesnar is being more or less erased from all of history right now, even being removed from the upcoming video games cover and the actual video game itself. All of the merch from the WWE shop is being sold at like 90% off right now. So WWE has made it clear that Brock Lesnar is not going to be in any of their future plans. Maybe this is just a situation where WWE continues with the intended plan of Gunther, but instead of having Brock Lesnar, you put the closest thing to Brock Lesnar, but you'll rewind the clock and maybe give us like a 2002 style Brock Lesnar and give us Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker, who is on the cusp as of the making of this video to being moved up to the main roster, a guy that we know has the athleticism of a 2002 Brock Lesnar type, the strength of a 2002 Brock Lesnar type, and somebody that we know the WWE is going to put all of their efforts behind. This is a guy that is going to be a future multi-time world champion in the WWE. I don't think any of us have any ifs, ands, or buts about it, and they might just pull the trigger on him super quick upon his main roster move up and give him the Intercontinental Championship and give him, of course, this marquee match against Gunther. This match would absolutely slap, and I hope that WWE doesn't overcomplicate things and try and do something different from Gunther. The only other match really that I would accept for Gunther at this point for WrestleMania would be Big E, but again, that's a situation of us just hoping for the best, well, I think this is a bit more realistic. Next up, let's look at another great program that's going on right now in the WWE. Now, I actually predicted this match to happen at Elimination Chamber, but that doesn't seem to be the case because, this is clearly not the path that they're going for Elimination Chamber as of the making of this video. But let's look at the Judgment Days, Damian Priest and Finn Balor, the current unified, undisputed WWE Tag Team Champions. And right now they have a fantastic program with R-Truth. R-Truth, who continues to try and endear himself into being a member of the Judgment Day. He gets kicked out, he gets beat up, and then like a goldfish forgets the next day and comes right back in and endears himself even more to the de facto kind of leader of the Judgment Day in Damian Priest. I think we're going to be getting Judgment Day versus Awesome Truth, The Miz, and of course R-Truth. I think this is a very, very simple narrative that you can tell to get us to WrestleMania. You don't need to reinvent the wheel here. This is already something that's working. R-Truth is over as hell. The Miz didn't get a WrestleMania match last year. I guess he did. He had multiple. Lost to Snoop Dogg, but like a real WrestleMania match. I think this could be a great moment for two legendary workhorses of the WWE and The Miz and R-Truth. I think you can crown them here as tag team champions, then the pop would be absolutely legendary. Folks, if you want even more wrestling content, consider coming over to patreon.com/SantiZap. You're already getting daily content here, but imagine getting even more content like the Raw reviews, NXT reviews, SmackDown reviews, the monthly mailbag. You're also going to get the Wrestling is Cool podcast 3 days early. That episode for this week is already up. Go check it out, patreon.com/SantiZap. Link in the description or the link in the pinned comment. That's it. I'm done with the sellout. Let's get back to the video. Next up, we have one of the matches that's really up in the air at WrestleMania right now. We know in some capacity that the World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins is going to be participating at WrestleMania. It originally looked like he might not because of his knee injury, and then it looked like he was destined to have a match with CM Punk. That was the match that I predicted in the last video. We know that that's not going to happen anymore because of the CM Punk tricep tear. So now we need to find something else. I don't think it's going to be Cody Rhodes. I'm just going to throw that into the universe right now. I just don't see a world where the WWE puts on these blinders and ignores the massive social movement that they have with Cody Rhodes right now across the landscape of the universe of professional wrestling. I don't think that people are going to settle for Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins. Instead, I think that we could have a match where we can protect Seth Rollins, who doesn't have a 100% knee injury, and put him in there with somebody that he's very familiar with, somebody who's doing a fantastic job right now in terms of building his heel character in Drew McIntyre, while also at the same time reducing perhaps the workload of Seth Rollins in this match by making it a triple threat and tossing Sami Zayn in here. This, to me, works wonders. Obviously, McIntyre already has a direct path to the World Heavyweight Championship. Sami Zayn has a direct path to Drew McIntyre because they've got this heated thing going on. And if Seth Rollins isn't going to get Punk, and if he's not going to get Cody Rhodes, because I don't think that he will, I think that you can still make this a marquee matchup by giving two darlings of the WWE universe in McIntyre and Sami Zayn this great opportunity to perhaps take that championship off of Seth Rollins so that Seth Rollins can go off and have surgery. I don't think that this match warrants a main event spot, if I'm being honest with you, but it's still, to me, with the pieces that I have, this is the best that I can do right now. Here's another match that I think is a foregone conclusion that is going to happen at WrestleMania. Right now, on screen, as of the making of this video, there's nothing to get us there, but all it takes is one episode of Raw or one episode of SmackDown to easily get us there. That being a matchup between brothers in the city of brotherly love, and what I want to see, a brotherly love street fight. Give me Jey Uso versus his brother Jimmy Uso. This is a match that they themselves have been wanting since they were children. This is a match that not only they want, but now the fans want. And in terms of the bloodline narrative that they've been telling for the better part of 4 years, it's a match that makes a tremendous amount of sense. Jimmy screwing over Jey Uso out of the WWE Undisputed Universal Championship at SummerSlam, screwing him over out of the tag titles when he was in a tag team with Cody Rhodes. He has been a thorn in his brother's side for such a long time now that it's time for these to finally come to blows. Give me Jimmy versus Jey this year's WrestleMania. I think this one's a lock. The women's tag team championship division is slowly starting to build itself up. We've got the Kabuki Warriors, we've got KC2, we've got the Witches. So there are players in this division. I think that ultimately they're going to redo what they did last year with a WrestleMania showcase match with 4 separate teams vying for the set of women's tag titles. I think that's what we're going to have. I think we're going to have a multi-team tag team match for these things. Next up, it's a match that I've been predicting as of the last video 2 months ago, and I still think, really depending on how the recovery timeline of Rey Mysterio goes, I think it's gonna happen. I think we're gonna get Santos Escobar versus Rey Mysterio. I think the narrative is very easy. I mean, in the story, it was Santos Escobar that put Rey Mysterio on the shelf by hurting his knee when he turned heel on him. Santos Escobar still sees Rey Mysterio as the hero that turned his back on him for somebody else in Carlito, who he deemed an outsider, not a real member of the LWO. The story between Legado del Fantasma and LWO still continues to be a common narrative on Friday Night SmackDown, and I'm sure that will continue to build itself up with fantastic matches, with multi-man matches, singles matches, women's matches, now that we have La Madrina in Legado del Fantasma and Selena Vega. But I think that the main event of this storyline, the climax, is going to be the return of Rey Mysterio and Rey Mysterio facing Santos Escobar at WrestleMania. Okay, this one, I'm going on a completely separate route. So just stick with me for a second, because this is one that I really had to come up with some headcanon here. Because there is a match that weirdly we have all been seeing as a foregone conclusion at WrestleMania, even though we have no proof to back it up, but we've all sort of convinced ourselves that this match was happening. That being the match between the United States champion Logan Paul and LA Knight. Yeah, I think there's a world where this actually doesn't happen anymore, and that LA Knight goes in a different direction at this year's WrestleMania, and that perhaps a US title program with LA Knight might be a post-WrestleMania program. Personally, I think that's a mistake. I think they should do Logan Paul versus LA Knight. LA Knight is hot. He's at the top of his game. He's still mega popular. Logan Paul, of course, has this massive following and is becoming more of a full-time wrestler in the WWE. However, when I start to look at the crumbs that WWE has been placing for us and I start to connect the dots, I'm starting to connect the dots between Logan Paul and somebody else as opposed to LA Knight. That's actually, stick with me, Montez Ford. In the most recent episode of SmackDown, there was a bit of a heated interaction that included Logan Paul, Nick Aldis, and Bianca Belair, where Logan Paul really spoke rudely to Bianca Belair, mentioned her husband, yada, yada, yada. This is a conversation where Logan Paul is wanting a contender for his United States Championship. So I think that was alluding to Montez Ford potentially getting this opportunity. On top of that, WWE is heavily marketing the Bianca Belair and Montez Ford show. And that's a show that they want to break beyond just wrestling fans and hit with a more casual mainstream audience. That you can tell that's what that show is designed for. And who can help break into the mainstream, the non-wrestling audience, better than Logan Paul? I think that when I look at like the business landscape of what WWE is trying to accomplish, I have a feeling, again, a very faint feeling, and I still don't think it's the right call, that we could actually end up getting Montez Ford versus Logan Paul. This match would friggin' slap, don't get me wrong. I think this is LA Knight's spot, but I'm seeing more hints towards it being Montez than it being LA Knight. So we'll see, most likely in a month, see where we land here. Next up, we have somebody that is guaranteed a match at this year's WrestleMania, that being the women's world champion, Rhea Ripley. She is guaranteed to have a marquee spot, a marquee feud. She is most likely headlining the upcoming WWE Premium Live event, Elimination Chamber, in Perth, Australia. So it's going to either be, of course, the winner of that, Rhea Ripley or Nia Jax. Do any of us see a world where Nia Jax wins here? Maybe if it wasn't in Australia, but there's no way that this PLE that has her as the poster, that's, you know, in front of her country people of Australia, that Rhea is going to lose before WrestleMania. No way, Jose. So I think that the winner for sure, the winner of the Women's Elimination Chamber is going to be facing Rhea Ripley. I think that's going to end up being Becky Lynch. This is a matchup that I've been predicting since 5 months ago. And I was predicting it 5 months ago because Rhea Ripley was running through Monday Night Raw. And for some weird reason, the only major marquee female on the roster on Raw that was on the same show as her that she wasn't having any interactions with was Becky Lynch. They didn't really have their first interaction until right before the Royal Rumble. So I think they're going to slowly start to build this up. And when I look at money matches left for somebody that is money like Rhea Ripley, doesn't go much further than Becky Lynch. Next up, I think the WWE had to pivot here for sure. Bianca Belair was destined for a non-title marquee matchup with Charlotte Flair. I think it was just going to be one of those dream matches. Who's the better woman? We don't need a title to decide that. This is a matchup of megastars. However, Charlotte is hurt, so now we have to pivot. I've been predicting it being Charlotte for a very long time now. I just don't think that that's obviously where it's going to go anymore. However, we have a brand new megastar, a megastar that became a megastar in front of our eyes at the Royal Rumble and had a small but yet monumental interaction with Bianca Belair at this year's Women's Royal Rumble, that being Jade Cargill. I think that this is a money match. My concern is that maybe Jade Cargill isn't on the level of Bianca Belair to have this marquee one-on-one match. You know, like it was easy to perhaps hide Jade Cargill's inexperience, shall we call it, in a Royal Rumble atmosphere, but in a one-on-one match, in a marquee match with Bianca Belair, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. But when I look at the landscape of what's left for Bianca Belair, somebody that's on the main poster for WrestleMania, I don't think it gets much bigger than either Rhea Ripley, which I don't see, or Jade Cargill. All right, let's get a little bit wild, okay? You ready for this? And I've been wearing this t-shirt to allude to this. You haven't really seen it yet, though. I think that we're going to have an important tag match here. I think we're going to have the matchup of Team A-Town Down Under, Grayson Waller and Austin Theory, taking on the team of Kevin Owens, which I think was an obvious one. I think you saw that coming, and his WrestleMania 38 opponent, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Stone Cold Steve Austin has experience, of course, working with Kevin Owens, the night one main event of WrestleMania 38. He worked night two with Austin Theory as well, giving him one of the most beautiful stunners that I've ever seen. And Grayson Waller has been interacting with legends ever since his onset onto the main roster, like Edge, John Cena. So this also wouldn't necessarily be unexplored territory for Grayson Waller. I think all of the men in this picture make a tremendous amount of sense in some way, shape, or form. I know Kevin Owens is going to go after these two, and I think Stone Cold Steve Austin makes, weirdly enough, the most sense for him to tag with. And I know there's some rumors of Austin being ready for WrestleMania 40, and you know we want an Austin versus The Rock backstage segment at some point during that night, right? This match could be on SmackDown, it could be at Elimination Chamber, or it might just not even happen at all with how unlucky these guys are in terms of getting marquee matches. But I think this is the year where WWE doesn't do them dirty. I think at WrestleMania, we're going to get Bobby Lashley versus Karrion Kross. We shall see, though. Like I said, this is a match that WWE may very well be like, not WrestleMania, but WrestleMania SmackDown the day before WrestleMania. That's what we're putting. That's what they did to poor Bobby Lashley the night last year, where they put him in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. That is a tongue twister. But I think this is the year where they give these guys a marquee spot on the card at WrestleMania. I do believe that this has legs to go beyond Elimination Chamber because of how many people are in this. I think you can do multi-man matches, you can do one-on-one tag team matches, and save the climax of the story, kind of like Rey Mysterio and Santos Escobar, to WrestleMania and give us Bobby Lashley, Karrion Kross, WrestleMania. All right, so now we need to start thinking of some of the major names that don't have narrative threads to have, like those title main event matches at WrestleMania. One of those is AJ Styles. However, he does have a very easy narrative in place with the guy that a lot of us think, including myself still, is likely going to have a match with Logan Paul. Again, I see this as a more likely possibility with how things are. I think it's going to be AJ Styles versus LA Knight. They continue to feud with one another on and off. They haven't really have a proper one-on-one match that hasn't been interrupted by some variation of the bloodline. At some point or another, these guys got to have a proper blow-off match with no interference. Maybe because of how heated this gets, you add a stipulation in there. But I do think that in terms of the narrative pieces that we have right now, this makes a tremendous amount of sense. AJ Styles, LA Knight. Another one of those guys that was part of that fatal four-way match was Randy Orton. And similar to those guys, it seems right now like he's kind of an odd man out when we look at the title picture. Maybe somehow he gets involved in the world heavyweight title picture. Wouldn't hate that one bit in any way, shape, or form. However, I'm only working with what I got right now. And what I have right now is that Randy Orton is still entrenched in this battle, this war with the bloodline. And perhaps they give him Solo Sikoa. And this would be huge for Solo Sikoa. Back-to-back major shows where he has John Cena at Crown Jewel and then Randy Orton. I feel like they fumbled Solo's rising after squashing John Cena. I don't think they really did a great job, but maybe this will be a better showcase of Solo Sikoa's in-ring work as he's working with somebody that's still in quasi-prime as opposed to John Cena just being a part-timer that's really just happy to be here. I think this will be a proper feud, a proper match. I love what they did last year at WrestleMania, so I hope they do it again. I hope they do another one of those awesome tag team showcases. I'm just showing 4 tag teams here. They have so many to pick from. Wouldn't even hate if it's more than 4. Just give a lot of these guys that have been cooking and putting on fantastic matches in the tag team division a spot at WrestleMania. And it doesn't have to be for the titles. It wasn't for titles last year, and it was one of the most entertaining matches of the entire show. That WrestleMania Showcase tag team match for the men was phenomenal, and I think they can replicate that magic this year. Again, doesn't matter what tag teams, I just picked 4 here, but you have so many to choose from. Last, but certainly not least, it looks like this is the fate that we're getting. All of the reports are showing that The Rock and TKO are not budging away from giving us The Rock versus Roman Reigns. This is a dream match. It is a match that I've wanted to see ever since 2015 when they were both getting booed out of the building in Philly. Funny how life comes for a circle, and now we're back in Philly, where there's a good chance they both once again get booed out of the building. At the very least, if the sentiment in Philadelphia that day is the same sentiment that there is around the wrestling world today. We shall see, but it looks to me like they are not breaking away from this. Here is the thing. There's no way you can't have Cody Rhodes. So I think that there's a possibility where we have this crazy world, and this is why I'm purposely uploading this before the WrestleMania press conference that they're doing in Las Vegas before the Super Bowl. I think there's a crazy world where Roman Reigns is somehow bamboozled, tricked into signing a contract where the guy that rarely works is now here having to face 2 guys back to back. I think we also get Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes. Here's the thing, a lot of people say triple threat. Do you really see The Rock wanting to share the hero limelight with anybody? This is a guy that tried to turn Black Adam, a villain, into a hero the same level as Superman in the DC world. He tried to hijack that entire universe that had been built for like 70 years to make it run around himself, the hero Black Adam. No, Rock is not going to share any spotlight. It's going to be a one-on-one match with Roman. I think it's going to be a one-on-one match with Cody Rhodes as well. I don't think triple threats are happening here, but I just don't think that you can ignore how loud the WWE universe has been. I wouldn't be surprised if this is in combination your night 1 and night 2 main event match. Now that CM Punk is gone, I think that night 1 main event is wide open for the taking, and it could be one of these 2 matches. Take your pick. All right, folks, that's it. That's the video. This is the last one that you're going to see until we get like really close to WrestleMania, where we start to do predictions on who's going to win and whatnot. But this is the end of the trilogy of the way too early predictions. Again, come back to this video in a couple months and let's see how close or how absolutely far off I was. Now tell me, what do you think? Where do you think WrestleMania is going to be going? That's it. I'm done. Get out of here.